So we are now live on YouTube. And I see some participants joining now. So I think we are going to start because I appreciate a lot your time and the fact that we are all here. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on the economics of nature-based solutions and the potential that this has for nature conservation and for economic prosperity. My name is Patricia Carbonet. I'm the head of Revolve in Barcelona, and I'm also the communications lead in the Resist project. And today I will be moderating the session. And before we begin, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to our speakers and all the attendees. We are very excited to have you here today for what promises to be a very informative session, I will say. So to start, I'm going to introduce Vilia Valionite-Merle, the Resist project coordinator, who will deliver the welcome remarks. Good morning, Vilia. The floor is yours.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. My name is Vilia Valionite-Merle, and I work at Syntex Digital. I am a Resist strategic project coordinator. And today I welcome you to this media briefing about nature-based solutions for a positive economy in the context of the Resist project. If you would show, Patricia, my slides,
Yes.
and if we would go to the second slide. To the next one, please. Okay. So climate change is already having a wide range of consequences for human health, the environment, and the economies across Europe. So the European Commission released the EU adaptation to climate change strategy in 2021 that aims to make adaptation smarter, swifter, and more systemic. The European Commission also followed up this strategy and mobilized research and innovation funding for the green and digital transition. And for example, it committed to invest more than 648 million euros in 2024 in activities underpinning the EU missions. Then, in the ethos of leaving no region behind, the EU-funded project Resist focuses on co-developing climate solutions, innovations, and technologies in 4 experienced regions: Southwest Finland, Central Denmark, Catalonia, and Central Portugal, in collaborations with 8 less resilient areas in Europe. All 12 Resist regions, leading and twinning, are demonstrated in this slide. In total, 57 partners joined together to implement the planned actions within 27 million euros budget in Resist. And the consortium is so large that it is led by Syntex from Norway in close collaboration with Innova from Portugal. Next slide, Patricia. To address climate change challenges such as floods, droughts, heat waves, wildfires, and soil erosion, the consortium will develop 100 new and innovative solutions, such as adaptation products, regulations, policies, and methods to be validated in one sustainability plan. These 100 solutions can be grouped among several categories, like nature-based solutions, digital twins, technology solutions, community engagement methods, policy measures. As you notice, the nature-based solutions and digital solutions are central to Resist, while the digital technologies increase a common understanding of both the possible effect of climate change and the possible mitigation through climate change adaptation actions. It is also important to note that digital technologies can be used for collaboration between the stakeholders, for making better decisions in proposing climate resilient solutions, for saving costs when implementing the planned actions. Among many digital technologies in Resist, the graphical digital twin is the one that will be developed for all 12 Resist regions. So it is no surprise that our first media briefing and a workshop held in Alesund in Norway in December focused on showcasing the potential of digital solutions. However, today our discussion will be about the green component of the digital transition. So today we are going to focus on nature-based solutions. And in my slide, I would like to stress out 2 Resist regions: Southwest Finland, which is a leading region, and East Macedonia and Thrace, which is a twinning region. In Finland, the project partners will conduct NBS demonstrations for stormwater retention and its quality and quantity management in 3 major demonstration sites with different characteristics, and will conduct cost-benefit analysis of NBS, while in Greece, the project partners will also work on collecting data on cost benefits of NBS for water retention and will develop a roadmap for using NBS in flood retention, water quality, pollution protection, and irrigation water scarcity management. So in this webinar, we all will hear more from the actors from Europe and from the Resist regional demonstrators that implement and demonstrate NBS for a positive economy. And I'm looking forward to hearing from all the speakers and even more looking for your questions. Thank you. And looking forward to presentations.
Thank you so much, Lilia, for setting the stage for today's discussion. So today we are going to have the session divided into 2 parts. The first part is going to be mainly led by experts at the European level, setting the context for the policy frameworks, for the research and the entrepreneurship side, so the economics. And the second part is going to be more focused on the regional perspective. So we have regional representatives which will share the case studies of the work that is happening on the ground. So this way we can link the two and try to come up with solutions and methodologies for this. So without more hesitation, I'm gonna pass the floor to the first speaker of today's session, which is Julie Delcroix. She's the Climate Neutral Cities Advisor at the European Regions Research and Innovation Network, ERIN. She's an environmental scientist with extensive experience in the European policy sphere. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. So I will begin by the first slide, and just to also understand, I was working in European Commission before on the research and innovation projects that have developed nature-based solution, and as well as a topic on nature-based solution on economics. So first slide, please. Patricia, do you have the slides? Yes, thank you. Sorry. So to begin with, look at the picture we have. So what is this picture? It looks like wetland with some green infrastructure, and it's near the sea. So depending on where you come from or what policy you are looking for, or if you are someone working in regional authorities, local authorities, or working in an organization dealing with flood, etc., you will perhaps see it as a natural water retention measures. So a measure to keep the water in situ. Or if you are working in the nature conservation field, you will say, oh, this looks like an ecosystem that has been restored. If you are working for climate adaptation or disaster risk reduction, you will see, oh yes, indeed, this is an ecosystem-based adaptation or an ecosystem-based disaster risk reduction. And if you are working, for example, as a urban planner or regional planner or in tourism, you will say, oh, this looks like a green park or a natural park, or this looks like a place for people to come for recreation, for being in contact with nature, or even you can say this is a green corridor or part of a green grid, and this is a reservoir of biodiversity. So you see that by saying all these concepts, you have looked at the same thing. It's a solution based on nature, but for different challenges, or also from different discipline and perspective. But all of them are solutions based on nature that can provide multiple benefits, or not only one. And this is really both the issue and the challenge of nature-based solution, but also the benefits what we will be talking today. And it's why also that at some point, this concept has been developed first by NGO working on the protection of nature to show there is benefits, and there are not only one. And in the design, you have to look at several benefits, so IUCN and WWF. And then it has been taken up by the European Commission in this research and innovation project, looking, we have here a solution for the key societal challenges of today that can address multiple benefits. And we will develop a project on evidence base to see how we can better design the nature-based solution and understand their benefits. And this is where the first concept of nature-based solution comes from, saying we are all talking about the same things, but we are not legible because we don't have an umbrella concept, so nature-based solution to talk about it, and to talk about it with new stakeholders, including from the economic sphere, but also urban, regional planner, and to show that we are already doing nature-based solutions since a long time, but we don't talk with each other. So the first definition came from researchers and innovators that has been contracted by the European Commission, and you can see the definition there, which is a definition, but also a sort of checklist, to be honest, looking at what is also not a nature-based solution. Since then, there is a global definition, but I will take this one. There are solutions that are inspired and supported by nature. And the "and" here is really important in the sense that it's not one or the other. If it's only inspired, it could be biomaterials or biomimetism, but they are not nature-based solutions. And they are cost-effective. They simultaneously provide environmental, social, and economic benefits when helping to build resilience. And they bring more and more diverse nature and natural features and processes into cities, but also landscape and seascape. Through locally adapted, and this is very important, the locally adapted, resource efficient and systemic intervention. So they are really at the core of a systemic change. And to be sure it's not forgotten, then there is an addition saying they must therefore benefit biodiversity and support the delivery of a range of ecosystem services. Voilà. Next slide, please. So if we focus on this question of challenges, but also benefits, like we have in the global UN definition about addressing social, environmental, and economic challenges, you can see in the flower at the left side, all of the challenges it addressed or the benefits it can provide. So you can have benefits that are more about water and soil protection, climate change adaptation, and disaster risk reduction. You can have something like also very known now, carbon sequestration that are bringing a new concept that were called natural climate solution at some points, and that were both recognized as in the global assessment of researchers, also both IPCC and IPBES. You can also have a lot of social benefits and cultural benefits, so sustainable livelihood, health, and well-being. So this idea is that instead of before looking at a solution for one policy challenge, you are now looking also on how to increase all the benefits and the synergy between all these benefits and minimize the trade-off. On the right side, you can see that you can have a project on nature-based solution, like you will have another one, looking at what are the costs in capital and maintenance. So this is what you see in the red. Actually, this graph has been provided by one of the RNI project working on nature-based solutions, so which is called Grow Green, and it's not actual cost, it's just an illustration. And then you will see in blue all the benefits you may have, which are either monetized or not really easily monetized. So this is always the issue. So you have revenues, what we call revenue streams, that are easily more easily monetized, which are called the avoided costs. So with nature-based solution, you can avoid costs, for example, of greywater treatment, because it will do the job for you, or you can avoid the cost of irrigation because you will have maintained water in situ. You can also avoid healthcare cost, and you can also do carbon sequestration, which could be valorized with carbon markets, etc. Then you have benefits for societies that are very difficult to monetize, and like improve their quality, the value for community, etc. But all of these benefits are difficult to monetize, and also what is complicated is that they benefit to different stakeholders. Some of them will be the citizen of the city or the farmers, etc. And it makes for very difficult value chains. And the person that is paying for the nature-based solution will not be the one that will receive the benefits. So it makes for a complicated business model. as well as complicated value chain in general. So you have really to, and what the project have also done, to develop business models and engage the stakeholders to share the benefit between all the stakeholders and invite new innovative financing models and business models. Next slide, please. So this reflection about how to value these economic benefits are not new. There are a lot of work that has been done around nature-based solution and nature ecosystem services that have been done around this concept of natural capital. So there is a lot of body of research around natural capital, and also a lot of big economic stakeholders that they work on that. So what is natural capital is more or less the fact that our soil, our water, our air, on all the living organisms, they provide ecosystem services that yield benefits and are value for the society and for the businesses. And so all of this monetization, again, are very difficult to do. So there is a lot of work, not only on nature-based solution how to value it, but more generally how to value these ecosystem services on our natural capital, and in an effort also to to maintain this natural capital and the benefits they give all the society. So this is crossing over concepts like bioeconomy, for example, and also business dependency on nature. So these reflection around nature-based solution economic benefits are in this wider frame of natural capital. And to do a smooth transition for my next speaker, this does mean also that we have markets already existing for nature-based solution, but these markets that have a lot of scope to be developed and straightened. And you can see that in the bottom side of the slide, there are a lot of markets that are depending on nature, but can also provide more benefits when protecting nature. So you have, of course, water management, sustainable agriculture, forestry, etc. And this is the working on this nature-based economy and how to develop more the markets for nature-based solution is the work of a community of EU Research and Innovation project that has been done through the project called Connecting Nature. And Shuvan, our next speaker, was the coordinator of this project and will explore a bit more this concept with you. Thank you. I'm looking forward to your questions.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you for this comprehensive overview. And if anyone has a question for Julie, please add it to the chat, to the Q&A, so we can take it at the end of this part one of the session. Thank you. So next today we have Siobhan McQuaid. She's the co-founder and director of Horizon NUA. Siobhan leads the European Commission Task Force strategy on the role of nature-based enterprises in the nature-positive economy, and she will give us more details about what this means. Good morning, Siobhan. Welcome.
Good morning, Patricia. Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be here and delighted to follow Julie, who I worked very closely with when she was in the Commission, also as part of a task force on financing and business models around nature-based solutions. Could I ask, please, that you enable screen sharing so I can share my screen? So yes, I should say as well, thank you for introducing me. I wear two hats. One is as the director and co-founder of Horizon NUA, which is actually a spin-off company from this research project, Horizon, or Connecting Nature. The second hat that I usually wear is Trinity College Dublin, where I'm the coordinator of a follow-on project from Connecting Nature called Go Nature Positive, and we're continuing a lot of the work that we're doing. So thank you. I'm going to just share this now. Brilliant. So Julie gave a great introduction there to nature-based solutions, and I suppose what I would like to do is focus a little bit on operationalizing this concept of the economic benefits of nature-based solutions. What does it look like in real life, and what is some of the barriers and some of the opportunities in this sector? Before we do that, just in terms of overall framing, Julie just mentioned there, you know, when we talk about the nature positive economy, there's so many terms nowadays. We've heard about the bioeconomy, the circular economy, a new term with the Belgian presidency is the regenerative economy. And we're looking at the nature positive economy. Where do all these concepts fit together? How do they overlap? What do they mean? So that is something which we're very much exploring in Go Nature Positive, which is this new European project we're coordinating. And we're working with organizations like Cambridge and Oxford. These are their definitions on the left of what is the nature positive economy. And in summary, our working definition is the first one from Cambridge, where we're really looking at how we can work with businesses and governments to take action at scale to reduce and remove the drivers and pressures fueling the degradation of nature and to improve the state of nature and the ecosystem services it provides. A simpler definition perhaps is from Oxford, where they're talking about the overarching goal of a nature positive economy is for the sum of all economic actors' activities to deliver net improvements in nature. So I think, as we all know, at the moment, our current economic system would not be described as nature positive in many aspects, and in fact is very often nature negative. So what we really want to do is work with mainstream businesses to support a transition to more nature positive activities, and then to work with what we call nature-based enterprises, which are nature positive by mission, by design, and how can we support them and help them to scale and grow. So there's many overlaps potentially between the nature-based solutions and the bioeconomy, the circular economy, but we think, and what we're looking at is where are the differences and where are the overlaps. So that's just in terms of setting the context. So where do nature-based enterprises fit in, you might ask? Well, first of all, as Julie has mentioned in her presentation, nature-based solutions in the last 5 years has become very much a concept that is mainstreamed, and we're seeing a massive increase in demand for nature-based solutions. And financing of nature-based solutions, the UN has called for an increase of, I think, tripling of financing of nature-based solutions by 2030 and quadrupling by 2050 in order to meet the objectives, not least of the Global Framework for Biodiversity. So what we are seeing is a massive awareness and increase in demand for nature-based solutions. A lot of that demand is coming from the public sector. And what we're trying to do is also work with businesses to transform towards nature positive activities and look at how nature-based solutions fits with mainstream businesses. But what we are finding is that as demand increases, there's a problem on the supply side. So there's another EU report came out identifying that finding skilled and experienced suppliers to deliver nature-based solutions is now becoming a challenge and a problem. And that's kind of inhibiting the wider uptake, this lack of expertise. So this is, I suppose, where we would position nature-based enterprises and the need to recognise and support nature-based enterprises who deliver nature-based solutions. And this is a familiar slide. So Julie has already identified a number of sectors where you find nature-based enterprises. And it's a very much an umbrella term for economic entities who are driven by a mission to work with, and very importantly, for nature to address climate change and biodiversity challenges. So these are organizations or businesses involved in economic activities across a number of sectors, from water management through to green buildings. And I think there was a lovely link with the digital solutions. We have identify a lot of enterprises and a lot of potential for growth of enterprises in smart technologies, providing smart technologies to measure the costs, the benefits, the impact of nature-based solutions. As you saw from that diagram that Julie presented, there's a big cost associated with nature-based solutions. So you need to ensure that technology is being used to monitor the health of nature-based solutions and to measure the impact. So there's a lot of linkages, I think, between smart tech and nature-based solutions. and the enterprises working in this area. So just some of the characteristics. We did a survey, and actually we're later this year, we're going to publish an update of this survey. But what we saw from the survey, first survey, which was conducted in 2021, was that a lot of these nature-based enterprises are very small companies. So they're SMEs essentially. They're funded by the private sector as much as the public sector, but a lot of them are for-profit or hybrid enterprises. And so, and then about a third would fall into this not-for-profit category. But what I wanted to highlight is in particular the different types of value they created. So when we talk about cost-benefit analysis and what is the type of value that is being created by these enterprises, and we see that it's not just economic value in terms of revenue, turnover, skills development, new innovations, job creation, but also the very much the environmental value created by these enterprises as they deliver nature-based solutions. And what we found was a really strong social objective, social purpose, very much increasing and changing environmental attitudes towards nature, working with communities and promoting health and well-being. So nature-based enterprises don't just deliver economic benefits, but deliver many other types of benefits as well. And of course, there are many challenges, and some of the top challenges that have been identified in this research is, first of all, a lack of awareness of nature-based solutions among decision makers. Or I would say, while that situation might have changed since this research was done in 2021, in our continued research, what we're finding is that while there is increased awareness, it can be very specific. So it can be very specific to nature-based solutions for flood management, for example, but not the wider. So very much looking at nature-based solutions from an engineering aspect rather than this wider holistic value that they can create for the social and economic purposes. Public procurement is a major issue. The focus on costs and benefits isn't always, as we've seen, capturing the non-monetary benefits of nature-based solutions. And then what we're seeing is inconsistent policies to support nature-based solutions across the public sector. Lack of finance is a significant barrier that nature-based enterprises face. Lack of knowledge on how to measure impact. So that's something which I think is really interesting, is that in order to be able to demonstrate these different values, it needs to be measured. And as I said before, I think this could be an area where technology is really interesting to address that challenge. And then lack of finance and knowledge for research and development. Enablers, strong partnerships and networks, access to education, skill development, and evidence being able to show the effectiveness of nature-based solutions. A couple of, just to wrap up, a couple of resources, I suppose, in this area that have come out of these European research projects. The first one is this Connecting Nature Enterprise platform, which basically highlights and raises awareness of nature-based enterprises and essentially connects nature-based enterprises across Europe and indeed globally. And there's, I think, 10 or so different communities in these different sectors, from water management to green buildings and so on. And they're led by practitioners who organize webinars and content essentially on the issues and challenges they face. So it's very much kind of led by the industry. And then a last little mention of Go Nature Positive, which is this new project that launched only in January this year. And as I said, we're working not just with nature-based enterprises to help them to scale and grow, but also with mainstream businesses to support the transition from nature negative to nature positive behaviors as part of this wider transition to a nature positive economy. So I leave it there, and as happy to take any questions that you might have. Thank you very much. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Siobhan. Thank you for the valuable insights. And if anyone has any question, please write them in the Q&A chat so we can take them at the end of this first part. So we are going to give the floor to our third speaker in this session. Is Carmen Antuña. She's a senior scientist at VTT and the Regions for Climate Project Coordinator, assisted project of RESIST. Carmen, welcome. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Can I share my screen?
Yes.
Okay, let's see.
Perfect, we can see it.
Okay, so like Patricia said in her introduction, I am Carmen Antuña from VTT, the Technical Research Center of Finland, and I am the project coordinator of Regions for Climate, the sister project of RESIST. And I'm very happy to be here because so far it has been great to collaborate with RESIST. So this is another of those occasions. So this is a project that started last year in January 2023, and we will will continue until the end of 2027. Here on the right, you can see the name of the call for proposals and the specific topic under which this project is funded. And the main aim of Regions for Climate project is to plan and implement real climate resilience innovations that are created by and for people in response to the EU mission adaptation to climate change that is being mentioned today a lot. In our project, we put a lot of emphasis on several things. One of them is just transition to climate change adaptation and to climate resilience. And also we place a lot of importance on cross-sectoral innovations and cross-border collaboration between the regions in the project. If you look at the map on the left, we have 46 partners from 13 countries and 12 regions spread across Europe. And now we are going to see how the work in those regions is organized. So in this image, if we move from left to right, you can see that we have a list of climate change challenges that have been selected for our regions to jointly work on and develop solutions for. And the 12 regions are divided in 3 groups that we call challenge suites within the project, or clusters for short. And each cluster is led by one region. And in the case of the first cluster, the leading region is the Basque Country, and the cluster focuses on faster adaptation, and specifically they work on protecting the integrity of coastal ecosystems. In the second challenge suite or cluster, the leading region is Hubei in Denmark, and the whole group focuses on smarter adaptation, and they work on enhancing climate adaptation through data. And finally, in Challenge Suite 3, the leading region is Cydia in Crete, Greece, and they focus on systemic adaptation. And the group is working together on building socio-cultural and economic resilience. And for the purpose of today's webinar, we'll focus more on this third group, because this is the group where there is more emphasis on the development of business models, green business models, in collaboration with citizens, local businesses, and SMEs. So this is a core pillar in Challenge Suite number 3. So instead of talking specifically about nature-based solutions, in the case of our project, I would like to give you an overview of how we approach exploitation of climate resilience innovations developed within the project. And this covers not only nature-based solutions, but all the other climate resilience innovations, because they, in terms of exploitation and business development, the challenges encountered are pretty much the same. So we work on exploitation at 2 levels within our project. The first level is a challenge suite level, like we saw, and particularly in challenge suite 3, the regions are collaborating closely with their local citizens, businesses, and SMEs, particularly in rural areas. And together they are addressing critical social, cultural, and economic impacts of climate change, and they are striving to achieve a just transition towards climate resilience. And like I just mentioned, their work has 4 core innovation pillars, and one of them is precisely to develop and validate green social business models. The outcomes that are expected in this challenge suite is sustainable socioeconomic renewal, that's perhaps the main one, and enhanced societal resilience to the impacts of climate change. But within Regions for Climate project, we also address exploitation at a more general level or higher level, which we can call project level or work package level, because we have a complete work package that is dedicated to evaluating the exploitation potential of all the innovative solutions that are being developed to enhance climate resilience. And this work includes also the analysis of both opportunities and barriers to their exploitation. And when I say exploitation, it doesn't necessarily mean commercialization. Some of those solutions have the potential to be commercialized as a service or a product, but some others don't have that potential, but they still have potential to be more widely used by local or regional administrations or different agencies. The components of the Regions for Climate Exploitation framework are market analysis, the development of business models and cases around those innovative solutions. And this includes benefit analysis using key performance indicators. Another important component is the development of a roadmap of exploitable results. And finally, the exploitation and IPR management of that package of innovative solutions. And the outcomes that we expect are the maximization of exploitation potential, also the development of sustainable business models and exploitation planning. And ultimately, the objective is to transfer the outputs of the project to Horizon platform. So probably if you have any questions or there is time later, maybe we can mention a bit more in detail some of the concrete examples developed by the regions. But for the moment, I think I can leave it here. And you have there my contact information if you need anything. And over to you. I'm happy to hear any comments or questions.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you so much for this overview on Regions for Climate. And yes, we have one question, which actually asks about the examples of cost-benefit examples of nature-based solutions that demonstrate positive impact, and how these examples can influence public and private investments.
In our project, like I said before, the emphasis on developing new business models is mostly within Challenge Suite 3. And we have 2 regions there that are working on these topics. One is the Nordic Archipelago in Finland and Sweden, because the Nordic Archipelago is a region that gathers islands from Sweden and also from Finland, several regions. And then the other example is Cydia in Crete. However, although they are working on developing business models, they are not specifically being developed around nature-based solutions. They are developed around other innovative solutions to enhance or increase climate resilience, not specifically nature-based solutions. Because like Vilija said before very well, these are very large projects where we cover not only nature-based solutions, but also other climate resilience solutions. So the topic of this webinar today happens to be nature-based solutions, but there are also other solutions. And in this case, our regions focusing on business development are not working specifically on nature-based solutions. But if you want the examples anyways to see how this works in practice, one of them in the Nordic archipelago, they have two pillars in their innovation package. And one of them is energy and the introduction of renewable and alternative energies, and the other one is maritime transport. And they combine these two, and the business aspect here is how to develop adequate and suitable business models for the exploitation of the service that they are the new service that they are trying to develop. And this is actually a cross-border endeavor, because the ferry fleet that operates in the Nordic archipelago constantly goes back and forth between Sweden and Finland. So this is an example of cross-border collaboration and development of new business models around climate resilience innovations. And the pillars are energy, clean energy, and transport, maritime transport. Hopefully this clarifies a bit.
Yes, thank you for putting this example. And shortly we are going to hear from other examples, case studies from regions, from Extremadura, Southwest Finland, and Normandy. Before we jump into the second part of the session, there's a question for Siobhan. And the question is, can you elaborate on how business can capitalize on the growing market of nature-based solutions, and what innovative business models are emerging to support this economy?
It's a really good question, and actually we're doing a very big piece of research for a project called Invest for Nature at the moment, which is really looking at financing and business models of nature-based solutions. So we're analysing. We have interviewed over 40 nature-based enterprises from across all sectors across Europe. And we've asked them about their financing, the types of financing and their business models. And we also have a survey with over 130 responses. So we're starting to analyze that data at the moment. And what we are seeing is a range of business models emerging. And what I think is really interesting is two things. One, I think a huge challenge is around scaling. In that many of these enterprises are financed directly by their own kind of revenue stream, so they're self-financed, and there's a wariness around taking in private sector investment in order to scale more rapidly. So I think that is an area where we're seeing that there's a lot of potential to build relationships, to get more private sector businesses in, to help businesses to scale their business models more rapidly. So at the moment, business models are very much dependent on self-generation and selling of products and services, and there's a limitation to scaling and impact, which is why you saw so many of them remain very small. If you will, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put into the chat the results, the preliminary results of that survey, which were published by Invest for Nature. And what we are doing is we're organising later on this year a webinar series, which is basically taking the results of this kind of research, which is ongoing, and we're turning it into capacity building measures to help businesses scale and grow in this area. And we're looking at lots of examples of successful business models. But at the moment, we're just starting to analyse this data. So I'll share the preliminary results with you about the kind of financing and business models. But what I would say is check back later in the year when we will have a webinar series which will provide a lot more information and details on after we fully analyze the data. So watch this space essentially. But I put a link to preliminary results in the data now, okay?
Thank you, Simone. That's very useful. Okay, so we have another question for Julie on policy. What specific policy changes do you believe are essential to facilitate even more the integration of nature-based solutions in society and market?
Thank you, Patricia. I think it's very much linked with what also Chauvin just said, meaning that we know more or less how to design nature-based solutions for different policies. No, the policy barriers are not only policy barriers, the usual one, the fact that nature is not valued enough, and that the practice for the moment are very much towards nature negative economic activities. But it's also the need of having the good financial and business conditions and incentivizing the nature positive economy. So I will say very generally on this policy change, there are things going into the right direction. For example, the EU is the first continent to have developed a framework towards more sustainable investments, and this is called the EU Sustainable Finance Taxonomy. There have been a lot of arrow because there was some measure around gas, etc. But you have to see that for each of the 6 environmental domains that the EU is working on, including biodiversity and circular economy, etc. This taxonomy has defined what are the economic activities that substantially contribute to biodiversity protection, restoration, etc. So there is really a framework in place for investing much more in nature positive economy. So what is needed now is to see how the business can use more of these, as also the national governments can use this more and can facilitate the application and operationalization of this on how more step by step. There could be like a minimum of investment of big companies or big investor or philanthropic in this nature positive economy. So we really need enabling framework for policy on finance in general. Some of policy are always there, but not exploited enough, I will say. And actually in the nature positive economy reports that you have the link here, it's already also explored how this sustainable finance taxonomy can support. There are also new demand at the policy EU policy level about integrating more of this condition in the reporting of companies, so social and economic reporting. And you have some of the framework to be more personalized. And also the public procurement. So if there are some barriers for the public procurement or regional, local, etc., to have nature-based solutions, this should be looked into. But this is more at the national level and really addressed how we can stop to empower nature-based solution versus non-nature-based solution. And it integrates also the fact that the criteria for successful public procurement should be also much more also about the whole benefits. So not only the direct revenue stream or the economic benefits, but in general. And I'm not talking of the potential that you can have with all the legislation around insurance and insuring against the risk, because here you have a lot of potential financial investment in nature-based solutions to prevent climate adaptation. So you have also here to have an enabling policy framework, but also dialogue on testing, on case study, etc. What works, what won't work, or what should be the enabling policy framework, how it could be reinforced. It's already touched upon in the EU climate adaptation strategy, but it should be much more mainstream.
Thank you. If anyone has any other questions, please write them in the Q&A chat. But for now, we are going to move into the second part of the session, which will feature 3 case studies from the RESIST project. The first speaker today is Nora Fagerholm, Associate Professor at the University of Turku, who will present on the stakeholder engagement approach in Southwest Finland. Nora, welcome. Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you, and good morning, everyone. I hope you see my screen and slideshow now. Yes. Okay, so I would like to tell you about what is going on in southwestern Finland in terms of resist. We have a case study in a river area, our catchment called Savijoki, which is a tributary of Aurajoki River running through the Baltic Sea. And on the right-hand side figure, you see the whole catchment. Okay, yes, I'm wondering what's going on with the slides, but now I'm back to the presentation. Yes. So on the figure, you see the river and its tributaries and an indication of how the land cover in this area looks like. So it's dominated by agriculture and forest, and there is very sparse settlement, the largest settlement in the southwestern corner with the purple area. And this catchment of Savijoki represents other similar types of catchment in this area. And it faces the similar types of problems, for example, drought, flooding, erosion, and then the biggest perhaps is this nutrient flow from the fields to the Baltic Sea that causes then eutrophication. Baltic Sea and this archipelago that was also mentioned in the previous presentations is among the rare hotspots of the HELCOM list existing. And then what could be highlighted in terms of water management and river management and nature-based solutions is that these are socio-ecological systems, and the water doesn't really care about our administrative boundaries. And this is the challenge for NBS, nature-based solutions management. Because on the other figure on the map on the left-hand side, you see on red lines these land ownership boundaries. So this figure tells us how fragmented actually this land ownership in this area is, and it's rather difficult to manage this system without bringing the stakeholders in, and especially the landowners. What happened with the slide? Now we have this next slide. So in Savijoki region, we have made quite a lot of effort to bring together the landowners to workshops and meetings where we have discussed the concept of NBS, introduced different solutions for nature-based water management, and discussed these with the locals. And we have also organized mapping exercises, participatory mapping, where the participants have been identifying problematic locations, for example, sites where drought is taking place or erosion in spring, flooding, and so on. And this knowledge is very valuable for the creation of the catchment plan that is drafted in the RESIST project by an organization called Wallonia. And without that knowledge, it would be much more challenging actually to prepare the catchment plan in a way that it is relevant and really identifies what is needed in this area. But gathering the landowners' knowledge in this way is actually quite demanding. It takes time. It requires trust building, like we know from all participatory processes. But then there is this great aspect that we have gathered very good and new knowledge. We have been able to introduce these ideas that have been new to many of the landowners regarding nature-based solutions. And landowners, they are the most important stakeholders in this area because they are the decision makers on land related issues. But the challenge, of course, is the implementation. So, for example, in the workshops, when they identified, for example, one landowner an area for where flooding frequently happens, and this farmer would have willingness to do something in that area, the implementation kind of is a very challenging and bureaucratic process to set up a nature-based solution. But the good thing is that this catchment plan that is now going to be drafted is a very necessary step, for example, to apply for funding for these measures to implement the solutions. Okay, then next slide. Oh, yes, here, I guess. I'm not sure what is going on with the presentation, but yeah. So the key messages from this case in southwestern Finland is that participation is very important. It's of utmost importance for the catchment plan preparation to create a relevant and up-to-date plan. Resist has a major role in this plan preparation, especially Wallonia organization, and this is very much linked to receiving funding for these measures. And how we see here is that Resist as a project has this important role of widening the bottleneck, so to say, so lowering the threshold for landowners to apply for funding for these NBS measures. And challenges though exist, so compensation mechanisms are needed and should be developed. So for example, if a farmer would like to change a turn field to wetland or other nature-based solution, there are no direct benefits for setting up this NBS service. Okay, and that is all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nora. Thank you for the overview on what's happening on stakeholder engagement in Southwest Finland and how it's contributing to the success of nature-based solutions projects. And I would like to give the floor to Camille Simon. Camille, are you there?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm going to share my screen.
Andy. Camille is the project manager at Conservatoire du Littoral.
Yes. So I'm working in the Conservatoire du Littoral. It's a French coastal protection agency. So it's a public institution and it acquires land on the coastal line. So as Nora just said, the landowner is a very important stakeholder as they hold the final decision. So it's really easier for us to implement NBS on our lands because we own the land. We entrust the management to another partner. In Normandy, we are partnered with French departments. This is the equivalent of UK counties. The Conservatoire du Littoral works on adaptation to climate change for 15 years now. And I'm going to talk to you about two sites in Normandy, Fréval and the Seine Valley. The Seine Valley is the site where I work, and the Fréval site is another site where another a colleague works. So those two sites partnered with English sites through an Interreg project between 2011 and 2014. The Interreg project was called LICO, Living with a Changing Coast. And the objective of that Interreg project was to draw a picture, provide an overview of how the sites were built historically, and what are the problems on those sites, mainly because of the changes that were done on natural habitats. The point was also to raise awareness of climate change, and after the project, it was a great help to build different scenarios of what could come next, and think and select one or different solutions. these two sites are fairly different, and the projects are fairly different in budget, budget-wise and size-wise. Fréval is only on one town. The Sand Valley project is on 3 towns. And on Fréval, the work was only directed on touristic use and agricultural use, and costed around 74,000 euros. On the Sand Valley, we worked on 3 themes, flooding and marine submersion risks, biodiversity and landscape, and socioeconomics. And it costed, the project is estimated around 32 million euros. So it's fairly different, but the objectives are different too. These are 2 views of the 2 sites. So on the left, you have the Sand Valley. As you can see, there is a big dike at the end of the valley, separating the valley, the lands, from the sea. So you have freshwater wetlands inside the valley instead of intertidal habitats. And there is a big pipe as an outlet. On the right side, you have Fréval site. There were some pipes on the river, and you have walking path just next to the sand, the beach, and that path created erosion or helped erosion from the sea. Meaning if you walk on the path, if many people are walking on the path, then you remove sand, and that sand prevents water from going from the sea in the lands. So if you move inland the path, then you reduce this erosion, and you only have marine erosion on the sand. So the objectives were quite different. On the Sand Valley, the objective is to create a breach in the dike and recreate, restore intertidal habitats. That's why the cost is quite different. But if you just keep those sites as they are like that, on the Sand Valley, it's estimated the cost of just maintenance is estimated around 10,000 euros per year. But if you have an accidental breach after a storm, for example, just restoring 1 meter of the dike costs around 30,000 euros. Yes, 30,000 euros, which is quite huge. And it's not resilient. And if you think of sea level rising, you can't just keep it that way. If you don't have things like habitats just next to the dike, you can implement that kind of solution as breach. So due to adaptation to climate change awareness, the 2 sites decided to move on and implement nature-based solutions. On Fréval site, so they worked on recreational use and agricultural use. So the point is so if you see the number 1, this is the new walking path, and the first one is just next to the sea, and the new one is more inland. But they worked also on the view, because if people go next to the sea, it's to see the view. So whenever you work on nature-based solution, you have to take into account not only nature, but also socioeconomic use, and here just recreational use. And as you need to work and to be more resilient, agriculture next to the coastline has to adapt. So there are some there is work done with the farmers to change the uses, the agriculture use, and to adapt it. So they will have more intertidal habitats or more salted wetlands. So they will need to adapt their use to this. On the Sand Valley, what I haven't said on the Freval site is that it's a long project. It was the first ideas came from the management plan, which started in 2013, and the project is not over yet. So it means that we raise awareness to climate change also through our projects, because they take time. So you need to keep talking to farmers, to tourists, to inhabitants, local inhabitants, and also to elected people. So you keep raising awareness on climate change and adaptation to climate change. On the Sand Valley, the project, the very first ideas, which were mainly hydraulic solutions, dated from just 1999 and the years from 2000. So it's a long project, not over yet. As we haven't done the bridge yet, it will be done by 2026. So you have a project where the first ideas came from nearly 26, by the end of the project, nearly 26 years. So you can follow them through this project. We have had elected people, new elected people, and some of them have changed their minds around climate change and adaptation to climate change, and the need to adapt on this particular territory to make sure that they could keep a campsite, for example. So it was really important to keep, to have a continuous link with elected people and inhabitants and tourists. And the last thing I wanted to say is mainly about the fact that we also, it's a help, it's fair help to use economics and monetize the nature-based solutions, but you can't do it for everything. You can't really monetize some intertidal habitats. And if you compare with wetlands, freshwater wetlands, which one is better or worse? Sometimes monetizing isn't the best solution, but it helps financial partners and elected people to choose NBS. So I'm just torn between the two. If you have questions, you can ask, but I'll stick to that. I've added some links if you want some more information on those two projects.
Thank you, Camille, for this detailed analysis and for the information. Feel free to share the links here in the chat so everyone can take them. And we're going to continue with the final case study of today, presented by Fernando Pulido, full professor at the University of Extremadura. And feel free to take the floor, Fernando, and introduce us to your work.
Thank you very much, Patricia and Resist organization. You can hear me well?
Yes.
Oh, Okay, yes, can you please show the first slide? Well, I am working in the southwestern Spain, in Extremadura. It's a region very close to Portugal, and it's a highly depopulated region. We have around 20 inhabitants per square kilometer, and specifically in the pilot area of the project, you can see it in the blue square in western Spain. The population density of humans is less than 12 people per square kilometer, which is the similar density that they have, for example, in northern Scandinavia. So it's a very less populated region at the European scale, and because of that, because of the rural abandonment of this area, and also because of climate change, we have a huge problem with wildfires. You know that this problem, you can see in the picture one of the last mega fires we have in Western Spain. In this region, the impact of these mega fires is increasing, and as well in the whole Mediterranean area in Southern Europe, and probably in the future it will increase in Central and Northern Europe. Next one, please. Okay, this is just to show the predicted pattern of extreme wildfires in the whole Europe. You can see the blue line correspond to the Mediterranean area. We have, of course, most of the big fires in Southern Europe, but the trend is predicted to increase in the coming decades. These trends will also will also affect the rest of Europe, but maybe the trend will not be so intense. Next one, please. Normally, we used to say that the main factor driving mega fires is only climate change, but this is not true. There is a complex interactions between increasing temperatures and increasing droughts in Southern Europe, but at the same time we have non-climatic drivers, which is the expansion of forest and the abandonment of the rural areas. There are at least 4 different ways in which the forest area is increasing because of tree planting, because of tree crop abandonment, because the cessation of grazing in the mountains, and also because we have lost traditional tools that were traditional small fires that we call good fire, that traditionally have been used for preventing large fires. Because of these 4 reasons, we have a lot of forest encroachment with no control, and this results in the accumulation of vast areas of fuel that we cannot control, and this interact, and this effect is combined with the climatic effect. Because of that, we have unprecedented fires in the area. Next one, please. Well, in this snapshot, I try to show at the same time the problem and the solution we are working on. This is the landscape resulting after a fire in 2009, and this is a very frequent situation in Western Spain, and also in Italy, in Greece, in the whole Mediterranean area. You can see the black burned forest, especially shrubland areas and pine forests are in black color, but in between the burned areas you can see many islands of intact normally cultivated cropped areas. You can see, for example, in the center of the photo, you can see an olive orchard which is not burned. You can see in the upper part of the photograph a cherry tree crop. So you can see many islands of managed land, especially cropped land, that are not burned, and in fact they are acting as fire breaks against fire spread. Next one. So with this kind of views after the forest, we came to a possible solution. The idea is to mimic the effect of these productive islands. We call these productive fuel breaks. For example, if you look at the photographs at the left of the picture, you can see a conventional linear fire break, which is very costly, and they are not very effective against fire, as you can see in the picture. The fire usually cross these linear fire breaks, but we are trying to promote the implementation of wider and productive, and economically positive fire breaks that we consider nature-based solutions. A productive fire break is a patch of land in which management reduce the fuel load, of course, the spread of the fire, while resulting in some economic returns and implementing with the participation of local people. This is clearly a bottom-up process instead of the top-down process that we have been using in the traditional methods to fight fires. Next one, please. These are 4 examples. Maybe you can understand better with these 4 examples. For example, grazing with goats. We can, in this way, clean the fuel in the forest and reduce the fire risk. Forest thinning, that is the reduction of the tree density and the inclusion of silvopastoral uses in the former forest, also reduce the fire spread. Also resin tapping. In the case of pine forest, we are working with resin tappers. Resin is a very expensive and very appreciated product in the forest, and if we are able to work with the resin tappers in the forest, the forest will be, we can remove the bushes and the shrubs from the forest, and in this way the risk of the fire also is reduced. And also, of course, the people living in the forest can monitor and can they act as surveyors of people that have bad intentions and that want to burn the forest. And the 4th example is the tree cropping in between some forest areas. For example, here we have a crop of chestnut trees, which is also a very productive and appreciated product. And by creating these small crops in between risky forests, we can fragmentate the landscape and reduce fire risk, which is also a benefit for the forest. Next one, please. Well, we have been working for 6 or 7 years with this methodology in previous project in Western Spain, and this is just to show a concrete example of our pilot area in northern Extremadura. All these yellow, green, and red areas are productive fire breaks that we have created with the cooperation of farmers, foresters, and herders. And this is the resulting landscape after some years of work. And as the result of the creation of the implementation of this new landscape, in the next slide, please, you can see that there is a clear, very consistent relationship between the area that we are being able to treat with productive fire breaks, with the participation of the local population, and the reduction of the burn area. This is theoretical, this is based in theoretical simulations, but the result is very clear. As we increase the area treated with the productive or participatory fire breaks, we will be able to reduce the fire risk in the future. This is a proof of the concept. And within the RESIST project, we are already using this concept, which is a validated concept, to increase the impact, to upscale the solution to more and more area, and even to other regions in other countries, especially in Portugal. the relationship between the productive fuel break and the reduction of fire risk and the entrepreneurship is very clear, because from every productive fire break that we are implementing, we have a product. So we have not only a landscape, a new landscape with a lowered fire risk, but we have also a landscape of new products made by small local companies in the area. I saw here some examples with the production of olive oil, of several trademarks, also the production of different cosmetic products from aromatic plants that we are planted in the productive fire breaks. Also the production of different kind of meat especially from goat and from sheep, and also the example of, for example, goat cheese. All of these products and many others can and result from the action of productive fire breaks and from a clearly bottom-up process that we are now to we tried within the Resist project to make larger and to have to wider the impact across other areas and other regions. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Fernando. And following up on what you shared, what will be your advice for these business models to be replicated in other regions prone to similar environmental challenges? What are the key elements to consider?
Well, this is the work we have to do within Resist, and as you know, we are cooperating strongly with, especially with the people in central Portugal, which is a region within the Resist project. And well, we have already removed the international barriers. We are in close cooperation with the people from Portugal, and they are starting to apply exactly the same methodology in Portugal. And of course, by joining the forces between the countries, we hope to be able to achieve a better economy of scales. No, we can exchange the products between the different regions and countries, and we can create larger cooperatives and larger business companies that are able to reach different market niches. So the idea within Resist is to expand this small idea to wider regions across the Iberian Peninsula and other areas that could be interested.
Perfect. Thank you, Fernando.
Thank you.
We have a question for Nora. You said that compensation mechanisms are needed to reward the farmers applying nature-based solutions. So what will work as a mechanism? Is there any reference that we could share and inspire others?
Yes, hello. Well, currently, no, in our context, but I'm also happy to hear from our international colleagues here about the compensation mechanism that CAP has, for example, for these nature-based solutions. I'm not an expert on that side, so unfortunately my response here is a bit limited, but this is the reality that the farmers are facing in our area, and that they find, first of all, the process very bureaucratic, and without a proper catchment plan, you actually cannot receive any compensation or even apply, so therefore it's very important that Resist has this resource to create the catchment plan that can be then shown as a document about the necessity of these nature-based solutions and a basis and justification. Thank you.
Thank you, Nora. And finally, a question for Camille. How are cost-benefit analysis on nature-based solutions used, taking into account the social aspect, what we call the just transition, to promote the just transition, ensuring that the economic environmental benefit is accessible to all sectors of society? Do you take into account these parameters? Or?
During the LICO project, we had some meetings with local people to try to take into account their fears, but also their concern and their proposition on the project. But in the end, the main thing about the project was on the San site was that the campsite, which is still just behind the dike, was about to get administratively closed because of the flooding. So this is the main economic tool of the territory. So it had to be removed from this location and relocated outside of the flooding zone. And this helped us to promote an NBS on the rest of the site, recreating intertidal habitats and restoring also freshwater wetlands. But the main point was mainly economic, and also the legal side, meaning we had to work on obstacles to ecological continuity.
Thank you very much, Camille, for these insights, and thank you everyone for contributing to today's webinar. I think it's been very insightful. I really enjoyed all the presentations and answers that you gave. So we have now reached the end of this webinar today. I want to thank you all the speakers for the contributions, the attendees for the participation. We are available for one-to-one interviews, further data, reports, and information that can make your work more informative, and yeah, happy to connect more the dots around these topics and network in the coming months. And just to final reminder that next week we are organizing Gaia Arctic Summit in Vesterålen in Norway. And this is an international conference led by Resist and Gaia Vesterålen on climate change, with the main focus on the oceans and the imperative task of building a climate resilient community in the Arctic. And we will put a specific emphasis on the economic aspects as well, and the new business models to promote this. So I hope that you can join, for those who are available, to go there. And here you have more information in the link that we just shared in the chat. Well, thank you everyone, and have a really